Let's see. Mm.
Hi, Tamika. Let me just make sure I was getting my setup right. You know, I have to get the setup all right.
Yes, awesome. Thank you for being here.
Of course, anytime.
All right. So you can start off by telling us who you are, a little bit about yourself.
I am an amazing individual with this beautiful spirit that has amazing friends and family. I'm a mother. I'm a member of my community. Um, and yeah, like that's really what I can sum my title to be. I don't want to. I don't have no big title. I'm just me.
Yes. Rhoda is awesome. I met her when I was 14. Um,
True story.
yes, we met each other when we were 14. Well, I was 14. Yeah, and we were planning events and doing pretty cool things together. And I was actually afraid to be her friend, but I'm so glad that I just went and talked to her. So, because she's pretty awesome. And now
The
we're neighbors. And yeah,
your friend.
well, thank you.
She might seem mean. I don't know if she's gonna like us. And,
So many people have said that. It's so funny. Just the looks. The looks, it was a look of, are they going to want to be my friend?
and I
That's what it was.
yeah, and I think just like at that young age, like you're just like second guessing everything when you meet new people. So for us, it's like we want to just fit in with you guys, and make sure that like we're doing everything that we're supposed to be doing because we're like the new girls and from the new center. But nonetheless, it all worked out perfectly because here we are years later.
Yes, definitely.
Hmm.
Right about that. Okay, so do you have anything special to drink this evening?
Yes, I have some red wine.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I just got some tea, just taking it easy.
Yes.
Um, so tonight we're going to talk about the importance of knowing your history and your heritage because this is something that we talk about very often. Yeah, this is something we talk about personally very often. So I would like our viewers to see a little bit about, you know, our views of how important that is, especially to your mental health and your overall being to move forward. So we're gonna get into it. Oh, what do you have to create with us? I just got some paint.
So for my, was it 29th birthday or was this Christmas? I was gifted watercolor pens from Tamika, and also a sketch pad that I have. And the one that I have is the journal. I have a sketch pad that basically works like a journal. And the one that I have today says, use 3 words to describe how you feel and illustrate these words.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, I'm excited to see what you create. So let's get into it.
Can
So
you
there are 5 known ways that your family history affects your mental health. What would you say they are?
So when I was reviewing these questions,
Mhm.
I was like, "Whoa, this is real," because I actually didn't know that like that's the actual
Mhm.
thing. So like I didn't know there was 5 specific ways, or um,
Yeah.
so I would say like, would it be more so like actions or like what you get out of their
I
action?
mean, well, it's whatever you think. What would you think? Or do you think it's more of what people do or what comes of it?
I definitely think it's what people do and like how your household is. Um,
Mhm.
Even just kind of becoming a parent myself, I realized how important it is to like you're basically learning and fostering and trying to create a healthy relationship with the people in your household. Granted, it's not going to be perfect, but that's
Mhm.
actually like a really big job in itself because some people don't even really have a mold or examples for that, you know?
Right.
I would definitely say like by act.
Oh no. Are you there?
Hear me?
It's a storm out here, y'all. Yeah, I
Mm.
can hear you.
Sorry, you guys.
I can hear you. It's okay. It's
All
storming
right.
out here where we are now.
Yes, it is.
Right.
So I definitely feel like, you know, like anxiety is definitely one of those things you can get from your family members, mainly
Right.
because, you know, in a household, you share responsibilities and things of that nature. And that in
Mm-hmm.
itself can really, like, that's the first place that molds you, you know, and you're exposed to different things. So I would definitely say, like, by action, um, how your
Yeah.
parents or the people around you treat you, um,
Mm-hmm.
what they define you as through their eyes, their perspective, because that's a big thing. Because some kids really like learn about who they are through their parents more than the environment that they are around. So it's very, you have to be very delicate about that. I feel like when you're
Right.
raising children. Um, so like I would definitely say like when I thought about this question, I thought like of the negatives per se, then think
Mm-hmm.
of the positives as well. So I add the positives into it, even though I'm not
Yeah.
really saying 5 ways, but the love and the nurture that you get from the people around you
Mm-hmm.
really affects you as a person, and the relationships that you kind of create.
Right.
I like find like I'm an only child, for instance, but I like grew up with a lot of cousins, so like I'm well
Mm-hmm.
versed in the fact that I can be around different people and kind of adapt to the people around me. Um,
Right.
Definitely say like I don't really know the 5 known ways, but I believe like it's the core of it starts at home, you
Oh
know?
yeah.
And so I feel like just even that really, that study really being there and that fact being there, like I never even really thought about, you know, the, because I just lump it up into like one big idea in my head than really breaking it down. So I would definitely say it really just all kind of stems on what's the events and things that are occurring in the household and outside of the
Mm-hmm.
household as well. But like family is
Definitely.
a big part in your mental health. And even when you don't even like for certain family members that you might not even be around or know, like you find out
Yeah.
something about them and their mental health and you can relate to it because, you know, family, genetics, all that is real and true. So,
Yeah. Definitely. All of their you touched on all of them. It's genetics, added stressors, epigenetics, which is just your environment and how it affects your genes, and then the lack of love for your brain, and if people in your family have ever self-medicated before.
yes.
So that's definitely a big one. So all of those play a factor into your mental health. So you're very right. I think sometimes I don't even realize or I forget that you're an only child because, like you said, of all the people that you have around you. So that's
Yeah.
cool.
And it's funny because now that I have a child, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like now I see, you know, why my parents played it, like why, and even back then, it's like you think about how hard they worked and everything they sacrificed, and it just worked
Yeah.
well in ways for me to be a part of a big, big family and still kind of like have those connections and even get closer with certain family members, like
Hmm.
out, you know, being friends and doing things outside of family events. So.
Yeah. That's always good. That support system, having that. So, do you think that it's possible to overcome genetic risks for mental health issues?
I definitely think so now, especially with the internet and more information being out there, and more resources. I think
Yeah.
I think it's important actually, like to research, you know, some of the issues that or things that you know affect certain family members that you might be close to, or even your parents in adulthood, because it's really important to know, you know,
Yeah.
might be facing or like if you can relate in any way to, you know, the things that they were going through,
Hmm.
and even things you didn't know about, you know. But I do believe it's possible to overcome it because of the resources that are available for people who struggle with mental health issues. It's not,
Yeah.
but I think
Hmm.
definitely like um, like there's a solution to it.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is, we're actually in one of the best times for mental health resources and stuff because when my parents are a lot older, so they didn't have this opportunity to even talk about mental health. Like, it's, you're crazy, we don't want to deal with you, go to church, pray about it, things
Yeah.
like that. So, they didn't even have the chance to bring these types of things up. So it's a blessing that we're able to talk about these things, but it's really hard as somebody in my family who's, I feel like I'm just one of the first generations in my family to actually sit down and be like, okay, hey, we need to talk about this stuff. We need to address what's going on. Like, and it's really hard. I definitely don't want, any of my cousins or nieces, nephews to have to go through anything like I did. So I think it's possible as well, but it's hard. It is hard.
And it requires like work, like it's actual work, you know,
Mhm.
like, and it's things that you have to find out and face that you never really thought you would, you know.
Right.
So it
Yeah.
is like easier said than done. So
Definitely. And I don't know about your experience, but for me, it's even harder when there's certain things going on with your health or your mental health. And in my family, it was a whole lot of secrets. So you don't know about something until you afterwards, or you go through it and be like, "Oh, Uncle so and so went through that when they were 20 or when they were whatever." Well, that would have been nice to know before I was, like before I
exactly.
went through all these things.
Um,
But I guess, I don't know. Have you ever experienced that? Like the different secrets and stuff. I guess you don't really find out about it until later.
well, my culture, um, like, and I know a lot of East African, and honestly, probably a lot of Africans can relate to this, but like
Hmm.
the big thing in our culture, you know, like how what the family, honoring the family, what people think of you. Um,
Mm.
like I'm sure when you watch the juiciest African shows, they always like got all these scandals and stuff because like
Yeah.
it's not like the truth behind it is like some things are better hidden in the eyes of, you know, some of my like ancestors and some of my family because it's just better to protect the family, you know, family
Right.
name and
Right.
know how people think of you. It's not everyone's like this. Now I'm not saying that, but it's a
Cool.
common thing. And a lot of us don't really know every detail per se on a lot of things
Hmm.
our parents had to go through when they came to the States because of
Mm.
um, displacement and war. So it's like a lot to even unpack the older you get. And even when you start your own family and your own household, and I'm just realizing like how, well, not just realizing, but it's making the most sense to me now. Like, wow, you know, it's a lot to unpack. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And I mean, I think like it definitely made life, like I said, a lot harder because I didn't know these different things. And like you said, just trying to keep the secrets or the family name, like make sure, oh, we were trying to protect you, pretty much. These are things that I've heard as well. So it's very
yep.
interesting. Very, very interesting. So what does the word culture mean to you? If you could sum that up.
Um, I feel like it really is just like an encompassing theme around a person's identity. Um,
Hmm.
culture is like, I don't look at it as something negative. I look at it as something really positive. Um,
Yeah.
and I also think that basically every group of people have their own culture, despite whether it be ethnically or, you know, whether it be because they're part of a certain group or population. So I think it means a lot. And it's really significant on how we live our daily lives, even if
Right.
we're not a part of that specific culture.
Yeah. I think so too. I definitely I didn't sometimes I had to question myself like what do I think that word means? I think like you said it means a whole lot, like every part of your being, like the different things that you indulge in for entertainment, or where you decide to travel to the grocery store, if you have a car, if you don't, like those things are a part of your culture. They don't have to define you,
No.
but they are a part of your culture,
Hmm.
definitely.
For sure.
hmm So, do you think that culture is related to mental health, and how?
Um, I do, because, like I said, it's like, you know, something that is like a reoccurring theme in your life, something that you come back to, or something that, you know, literally affects how you do what you do. So I definitely
Right.
plays a big role. I know, like within Somali culture, mental health is not an issue that we really address head on.
hmm
Should, especially as a country. A lot of us don't are not living in Somalia, and a lot of us are living in the West or other parts of the world. And our
Right.
culture is one of those things that brings us together, but it also is something that is not like, you know, like when you're having an issue, the best thing to do, of course, is prayer, which in every situation of mine, I personally believe has, you know, affected me in a positive manner. But sometimes
Right.
other there's other issues that, you know, that you face directly head on, that, you know, in that situation, that prayer might not be the solution, that can fix the problem right then and there. So I think
Mhm.
that that is an occurrence in a lot of different cultures, especially cultures of color. So
Yes.
that like it's not as, you know, like promoted, but now it's beautiful to see that people are speaking out on this and saying this is something that needs to be addressed, and, you know, we
Right.
need to be able to provide these services back home and things of that nature.
Yeah, definitely. I agree, and I feel like the environment definitely affects how things are going to be for you. I mean, it's why people live in hoods or the jacks or whatever you want to call it.
uh,
It's the complete reason why people live in certain places. And there was a um, documentary I started watching the other day. It's Oprah's documentary. I think it's called The Color of Care.
mhm.
And just talking about how um, pretty much your zip code determines how long you're going to live, pretty much. So if you stay in that area, you're you're already predestined to die from diabetes or cancer or whatever. This is just how they have it mapped out. So if you just decide, okay, I'm just going to stay in this area for this amount of time, like there's already things around you that's setting you up to just crash. Like it sucks. That really, really sucks that people don't go out and go to different places or whatever. But it's set up like that, so we'll just stay
Yeah,
in the frame of mind. So it's not, what can you do at that point?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially here in the States, it's like a that's a big like, I think, I mean, I think it affects everywhere in the world, but I think that also within the West, a lot of people don't have the opportunity, or some people don't have the opportunity, to really experience other cultures and see other things, and that
Yeah.
can shift your brain, um,
Right.
and missing out and understanding different things and learning new information, and also
Right.
because that's sometimes adapting to a new climate or culture might will,
Mm-hmm.
you know, strengthen your life expectancy. So I feel like that's definitely very relevant, especially within the communities of color here as well.
Yeah. And okay, as someone who travels often, do you feel like that has helped your mental health or expand how you view the world and yourself?
I definitely think so. Like I had to sit with myself for a little bit at one point, and because I was used to my grandmother getting on a plane and traveling by herself, and like other
Mm-hmm.
families moving
Mm-hmm.
across the world. And so I personally was thinking, like, I need to, it's that time. I'm in my 20s. I gotta, like, and I was
Yeah.
enough when I was younger that my father actually had a job where I was able to travel with him. So
Okay.
that I was already, my parents kind of were kind of molding that already for me. And when my
Mm-hmm.
dad would travel, he would send me different postcards and bring me
Okay.
things. So from a young age, I feel like they, seeing my parents travel and um,
Mm-hmm.
kind of trying to understand more about my Somali identity outside of the States um,
Right.
was really why I started traveling. And also because that's fun. Why not? Um,
Yeah.
I definitely, for sure, I think that's like one of the like the best medicines to mental health
Mm-hmm.
is traveling. I think it's like amazing. Like there's like that's all I can say. It's amazing, and I
Mm-hmm.
highly recommend it if anyone can do it and afford it, and afford the opportunity for other people in their life as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree. I when I was younger, the only places we ever really went to were like South Carolina, or that's because that's where my mom's from, or maybe we would go to like Baltimore or something, but never really that far. One, because my dad was always sick,
Hmm.
but we couldn't really go. But yeah, man, I'm just now that I'm older, I'm like I need to go. Like I gotta go, have to.
Like in the
It's
States too, like if you do a road trip or you just go to like a state that welcomes people that
mm-hmm.
like and you just see how people live and stuff. It's like for me, I'm a people person, so I think that's another reason why it just always helps with my mental health. So I
Mm-hmm.
always um uh there's places in the States I probably wouldn't like. There's places I wouldn't travel to, and that's perfectly
Okay.
fine.
Yeah.
But definitely, I definitely recommend it, and I definitely think that everyone should really have an experience that takes them outside of what their comfort zone is, and
Yeah.
get to really see things for their own eyes. And even when you do travel, go outside if it's safe.
Mm-hmm.
Be able to go outside of the limits of where you might be, and get to.
Yeah. Okay. I agree. So, as a young Somalian woman, a have you ever found it challenging to adapt to American culture?
Yes, for sure, because like my household was literally like my parents spoke Somali. My
Mm-hmm.
parents were like, my mom grew up in America for a bit of her teenage years. Well, like a few years, but she came in here in her teenage years. So they were very much so, like we grew up still very much so within our culture. But
Mm-hmm.
my parents also were able to kind of like balance it out for me and expose me to different things. And
Yeah.
um, I found it challenging when it was it was challenging for me when I didn't fit in and I didn't find my tribe
Mm-hmm.
and like community of people who understood me, right? Like that's what the challenging thing was. But I also really am fortunate of where I grew up because I think that was like perfect to kind of get best of both worlds, kind of create my world and my own friends. So it was definitely hard at points in life because at times I would just feel closer to my family and my cousins and people like that. But it
Mm-hmm.
definitely changed in middle school. I think after that it was just like, and I used to wear a scarf too, so I used to cover my head and I used to wear hijab. So
Mm-hmm.
that in itself, like it wasn't really that hard for me to adapt because the people I just felt like I was always guarded and protected by God, number one, but number two,
Mm-hmm.
um, like I just came from a great family, so like anything that I was missing maybe outside of my my daily like social life outside of school and stuff, I was getting it at home with my family. So I think
Right.
there was times definitely, but it wasn't as hard growing up in Northern Virginia where there's a lot of different people that come from different places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, definitely. Like you could just tell, like you just radiated love. Like, when I met you, like it's just like, all right, cool. This girl, I just didn't see any piece of doubt or just like fear at all. So it's just great to see. So
Ew.
definitely keep it
Pika, that's so sweet.
You're welcome. It's really cool, definitely. So so you already explained how you were able to, overcome all of that, just enjoy being you. Have you ever found it difficult to stay connected to your original culture?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think like college was definitely one of those times where it's just like you're kind of like trying to figure out how to live, especially when you're not at home with your parents and like you're
Yeah.
like another area or representing them and you're in school. So I definitely found it
Hmm.
like difficult at times because um, I wasn't really around a lot of other Somali girls per
Hmm.
se at times when I was well actually it's here and there because my Howard experience was different and ODU was different because like
Okay.
when I transferred college it was like I found my tribe when I went to ODU, but um excuse me, I would say it was like hard at times, especially because you're not by family or you're not seeing them for
Hmm.
a while. It gets really tough, and you like there was times in my life where I didn't live with family members, and like I wasn't living that far, but I really was like missing that part of being
Hmm.
able to be around them because it's just like as soon as you get around them it's like nothing like, and I love my culture, so that's another reason why like for me it was family and culture like hand in hand. So if I
Hmm.
was that close it'd be harder, but the furthest that I lived was I think Norfolk, and that was like, oh, I found like I was lucky enough to have friends that were East African. So like even
Hmm.
times when we weren't even hanging out to be social, like just the calm times felt kind of like
Right.
because we're cooking for each other or talking about whatever, or like we would sometimes go to prayer. So it was like you just got to find the people around you, and it doesn't hurt to be friends with people from your culture, people from your country, you know what I'm saying? I think like at times it was like a stigma growing up, like you don't want people knowing your business, or like
Yeah.
girls, this is how this is, like, and it's
Hmm.
all that's all distraction and like noise. I mean, it's like you're not gonna like everybody that you might be related to or people that you meet
Right.
but if you could find someone to connect with because they could remind you of home, it's always a blessing.
Oh, yes, definitely. And I can attest to that too. When I went to OU, it was wonderful because I had two friends that I had known for a long time. They were able to be my roommates. So that was good. And then I knew a lot of people from here that were like Rob's friends or whatever. And I thought these kids were the popular kids. So I'm like, oh, they're not gonna hang out with me. But when we got there, it's like they just like adopted me. Like I call one of them my brother now. Like it's
Yeah.
just amazing. And then like the people that I met down there, like I have.
When I think I
Mhm.
transferred, you guys were like introduced me to so many people, and you're like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, good. Like I can skip this part. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like I know these people, especially because like the DMV culture is like very like prevalent, especially like the culture that we kind of had in growing up in the teen centers and stuff like that. Like
Right.
all that
Yeah. And it's
very
just like everybody became family, really. Like, we would just go over each other's houses, cooking and stuff. It's
pretty much, yeah.
Saturday, it's Friday, whatever. During the week, you got to study for a test. Like, somebody come over, buy you a drink. Like, it was great. It's good. It's good. And I definitely have people there now that I would call my family or I would call before some people here. Like,
Yeah.
so it's good to have that. It's wonderful. Definitely. So, do you? think that your culture, you touched on this a little bit, do you think your culture or your family history has ever made it difficult for you to tend to your own mental health?
For sure, because like one thing I'm realizing now, especially, is like I would love to know everything that my grandparents went through and things.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes some questions really can't be answered at this point, because they're older. And my grandpa,
Right.
um, God bless his soul, he passed away when he was in his 60s. So I didn't really
Mm-hmm.
get a chance to, give him that great interview. One of my dream projects is to actually interview my grandparents and like kind of like make a little mini doc for my family so they can all have access.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's something to archive because like
Mm-hmm.
I definitely feel like just having that disconnect. I'm not growing up back home and kind of seeing how where they came from and understanding why they are the way that they are, like right then and there. It really does kind of create challenges um, in your own health when you're trying to identify with why this triggers you or why this
Right.
happened this way based off of like the experience of so and so in your family. And
Mm-hmm.
um and like I said earlier, it's not like a big thing to talk about everybody's hardships and everybody know what's gone on in the family. The secrets are definitely a thing. So I think
Yeah.
I think, but I also think like us kind of my family being um having came here and kind of fleeing war, there's a big like kind of disconnect for us, the generation that grew up here, when it comes to figuring out
Mm-hmm.
all equations in your head of why you think the way you think, or why you react to things the way that you might react to.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't
There's
just
a,
question like, did I answer the
you did, you
question?
did, you did. And my family history has done the same. Like I said, again, there's been a lot of secrets. When you try to ask questions, is you're looked at in a certain way, like why you want to know that, who you talking to, things like that. Like you're the police, like I need to know, like you know what I'm saying. So this is different things that I've always my family. I feel like I've always had to play like a game of Clue or something,
Yeah,
like Monopoly. Like I'm like I'm just trying to figure stuff out. Like you guys act like I'm the police. Like I said, like I want to know. Like I need to know. So until I went through my own stuff, then it comes out like oh, like I said, Uncle so and so went through
right,
whatever,
right.
and
It's
this
like,
is
and you
like
guys could.
that.
I started going through things, and my mom started like telling me,
hmm
things, and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
Like that's
yeah,
crazy. Like, cause I'm really
mhm,
like her, So, and
yeah.
the funny part about it is, it's like that's what I tell my family and my cousins now. I'd be like, there was one point in our lives where we never thought we could relate to like
hmm
our parents because of
Right.
culture and like the difference.
hmm
But in reality, it's like we can in so many ways. You just got to ask some questions. And sometimes communication and really figuring out why and who and the stories back home and all that stuff, it really does fill you up, as a person.
hmm
Helps with the identification with who you might be.
Right. Definitely. You gotta ask those questions. You
You
have to. And I
know?
feel like my family always gets upset with me because I'm always the one who's like, well, why? Like, why are you doing that? Or, I'll go against the grain pretty much. So I've always been the odd one out on both sides of my family. So it
my
just
I feel like like my mom's siblings,
hmm
like both sides, like they're just all like I don't even have a word to like really describe them. They're just all extraordinary, each individual, and my parents both come from big families. So there's
yeah. Me
a
too.
lot that I don't know. And I look forward to finding it out and building those stories and stuff. And one of the
Yeah.
cool things is I have a bunch of my dad's old photos. So
hmm
I'm able to kind of paint a picture for myself. And then when I call him and I tell him like, I know I'm gonna get like either an exaggerated story because he's not
Right.
right, or like, like I guess stories for another time, you know what I'm saying? Or like a very
Right.
like this is what happened, this is why. But I definitely feel like they all I was more closer with my mom's side of the family. So growing up at
Mhm.
times, because like
Mhm.
my mom's side of the family was smaller and my dad's side was
Mhm.
huge. So everyone was like getting married and having kids and stuff. And my mom's side of the family wasn't, it was like me and my cousins and then like my uncles, they got married later, had kids later. So I was
Right.
I'm like directly challenged my grandmother and her ideas.
Mhm.
And like question things in the religion or the culture, and they would like have debates. Like I grew up watching that, so
Okay. Well, that's
I
good.
kind of stick to like I kind of had like a diverse way of thinking and growing up because I had the
Right.
conservative side, and then I also really had like the conservative versus like my mom and her siblings who are growing up in the States and um,
Mhm.
raising families and stuff. So it was definitely really cool, but also Somali people as a whole are very like we look like we're really good with our words. Like we're the
Right.
nation, so we're
Yeah.
able to describe so many things. We have like 50 million words for one word,
Mhm.
describe one thing. So it's like even just sitting there and really hearing stories and hearing what your grandparents say. It always was entertaining, even though sometimes it would turn into lectures most times, but it was entertaining. Like we were really good storytellers. So that in itself,
Mhm.
I think was a great way for me to view my culture outside of being home. But really
Right.
to kind of see that like everyone's like so different in ways, and
Mhm.
everyone's like their own character. Like my uncles and aunts don't even really look alike on my dad's side and my
Mhm.
mom's side. Like everyone is just like their own person, and I think that's the lovely part of growing up in my family.
Yeah. And see, that's awesome. Like, I love to hear you say that. And like my friend Christina, she has a family who's like that as well. Like they'll talk about everything. Even if they don't like it or whatever, they'll talk about it. And I love that. Like I said, my family's come from secrets. You don't talk about how you feel until you go home with whoever and you laugh in such and such's face because you don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. Things like that until now. So like you said, I was very close to my mom's family because it was a smaller family. My dad's family huge. But, you go on both sides of my family, this is very interesting. Both sides of my family, they will always call me white girl. Like
Really?
never, yeah, I'm like, what do you mean? Like I don't understand that. Yeah. And so just now too, like the way I speak, if I go down south, they're like, you talk too proper, you speak too proper. I'm here with my dad's family. They're like, yeah, you act white. I'm like, okay, cool. Like I don't fit in anywhere. So
I feel
it's
like
just
everybody had like that, and it's so ignorant. Because
yeah,
I
right.
had that one person. Because I'm thinking of her. I'm thinking of her right now. I have this call from her. It was just like everybody had that one person, and it really is crazy because it's like you and your friends. I mean, we've talked about this before. It's like like the culture of how you are really also stems about by who you hang out
Mhm.
with and like what you like
Right.
stuff. And so
Yeah.
I think it's funny because like that's hilarious. I never knew that about you.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, okay, but I mean, maybe to them, like, yeah, you grew up in by Mount Vernon, you liked field hockey, you did track, like you're white.
You were like the one of the few black girls I knew that played field hockey. R.I.P. Ray Ray. She played field hockey too when she was in high
Yeah.
school. That's
I
the
mean,
girls I knew, and
it's
she
a
was
dope sport.
that.
Right.
You were like one of the. I remember then like learning that about you, and when we were like, I think one of the center people told me. I think Miss
Yeah.
or somebody like, yeah, she plays field hockey too. I was like, what?
Yes. It was great.
Like what?
Yes. So, okay, this has been awesome. We're gonna get into the last couple questions
I know.
here.
Like this is so natural for us, so that's why it's going by so.
Right, yes, it's been fun for real. I knew this was gonna be great. So, by reducing your risk, you alter the genes of your children, your grandchildren, and beyond. Do you believe that this statement is true?
So basically, by reducing the risk of like mental health issues.
Mm-hmm.
Um, You know, I think it can be true and not. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think it is
Mm-hmm.
true,
Mm-hmm.
but mental health also has a lot to do with your environment, the
Yeah.
system in the neighborhood you live in, all that like literally plays into it. So
Yeah.
that's not something that can always be controlled. And I know for like we speak about it all the time, within what we see our people go through here. So
Mm-hmm.
I I believe that the statement is true, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's like the cure and cause to be able to better protect like everyone's situation. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's more that plays into it.
Definitely. Yeah, I believe that's one good, well, a step in the right direction.
Correction.
If you're
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
yeah, if you were to change maybe where you live, but everybody can't do that. But maybe like the little things, like, you know, um, like, okay, for example, this is really terrible, but I'm going to share this. So the other day we were riding bikes and it was awful for me. Like, I haven't ridden a bike in
I wanted to
forever. Like,
like I don't like telling people. I don't like telling people
ah!
what can be done. But when I did that ride, when those heavy bikes,
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I need to do more of this. I got to get back out here. But I was just out there like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. Like practically, I didn't curse Rob out or anything like that, which was great. I wasn't mean. I didn't yell. I was just like, I can't do this. Like I don't want to do it. And we were just talking, one of them good old Rob talks like, your kids are going to be doing things like this. Your kids are going to say they can't do it. And then you just can't. I'm like, oh, he's right. Like I can't just say I can't do it and expect, I'm trying to teach younger kids. Like I'm teaching two 4 year olds, one which is her son, and then I have another young man that I'm teaching to read and write and all these other things. And I get upset with him when he's like, I can't do this. I don't want to do it. Like he gets so mad because it doesn't look right. But how can I tell him to keep going? I can't even push this bike
like,
up the hill. Like I can't even, you know what I'm saying? So I gotta keep trying. So I guess like, the little things, not giving up on yourself, actually following through what you're saying, like those are good things that we can, take the time to change. Even if you think like, oh, I don't have the money to actually alter my child's future or whatever. They honestly just want your time, your attention and things like that. So if you could focus on those things, like yes, you would
yeah,
make your child's world.
like I
Mm-hmm.
think any parent can relate to this. You like doubt is always a thing that you
Oh,
have
yeah.
because you just think you're not doing enough, especially like the week will go by and like you
Mm-hmm.
went to work, school, and everything, and it's like you just like oh, like you never feel like you ever do enough. But every
Right.
people always tell me, and I always remind myself that you're doing enough because like your son is happy, and I'm realizing too for a lot of people, especially mothers that I talk to and stuff like that, that we don't
Mm-hmm.
give ourselves like we don't really like reward ourselves for the little small accomplishments. So because like we're just trying to get things done all the time, we don't really get to bask in the moments of like oh wow like our kids they're like healthy and they're loving
Mm-hmm.
like they love us and we love them and like we're doing like I believe it's God's work but
Yes.
like it's very important to like I try to remind myself that
Mm-hmm.
it's hard like just balancing life out and trying to get to a goal, and especially if you're a goal driven person and like you just are like I'm a person that like if I want to get something done, like I really have to, make those steps and plan for it. And so,
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't like congratulate myself enough for the little small stuff in enough to like build up to those moments. I think it was easier when we were in school or like,
Yeah, I understand.
you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
'cause
Real life.
yeah, you got those grades and stuff like that to be like, okay, I got an A, I got a B, like you know what I'm saying? So you
Right.
could see those things. So definitely, it was hard for me, and I'm just getting used to like where I'm like, okay, cool, like I'm satisfied in my career or I'm doing something, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, but before I'm just like, oh my gosh, like you said, you're looking for those different assignments or things you gotta hit. Like it's nothing. Nobody's gonna make those assignments for you out here. So you gotta figure it
Yeah,
out yourself.
yeah, and you gotta, especially if you're, whether you are raising kids or working, whatever, it's like good to set that example of like rewarding yourself and seeing, like, believing, being your biggest fan, because that is important. Like, it's very, very important.
Definitely, definitely. Nothing is gonna happen for you if you don't believe for yourself. It's not. It will fail every time. Yes. Yes, definitely. So, what are the different ways you take care of yourself and your mental health to assure that things are different for you and your son?
Well, it was like before, when I was younger, it was so much easier because didn't realize I was always around my friends, and like
Hmm.
moments used to just be so fun, you know? And like me, I just love laughing and being around funny people and just not being serious. Like, I'm realizing I don't really like I like getting serious when I need to, but um
Hmm.
I prefer life to be unserious, you know what I'm saying? So like
Yeah.
I feel like now I definitely am a big advocate for therapy. I think therapy is like one of those things where it's like a resource where you're able to talk to somebody else, get another perspective, and
Yeah.
actually they're gonna listen and tell you things that can help you, and if you don't like it, you can go to the next person.
Right.
So I definitely believe, and I definitely believe in therapy, and I'm in therapy myself.
Hmm.
um Definitely family. Like, I didn't realize like how important that was when I was as younger, because I was just so much around it, that it would
Right.
me feel good. But like
Hmm.
just hanging out with family, the kids, my like cousins, definitely helps, because like my culture, like I said, it's like just we can sit there and talk for hours and like,
Hmm.
stories and things like that, and really like vibe with each other, because like that's just, family's such a big thing for us. So I definitely say like family, a mix of being around family, therapy, and also I like to do stuff with my hands. So if I go outside and
Yeah.
outside with the garden in the backyard, or if I even just clean, I'm a
Mm-hmm.
big person, like a believer in like clean and self-care. Like, I actually realize I like to clean, and I think that's like not not many people like to do that. Not many people don't like to do that, but I think that, like, it's like I feel better when I clean. So if I
Yeah.
do that, and my environment and where I'm, staying at my house is clean,
Hmm.
smells good, and I'm just vibing out, it's like perfect for me. So I would say like a mix of all that. I think therapy is really important though, because it's like a good self-reflection to see how far you're coming, and also identifying issues that you're not possibly identifying with the people around you, or like,
Yeah.
um within work and things like that. So yeah.
Definitely.
And I say that, and also um like going outside is a big like mental clear for me. I love
Mhm.
the sun. So
Yeah.
things outside, and really like just disconnecting from the internet or anything electronic does help at times,
Hmm.
to stay like grounded and rooted. So I would definitely say like that, the combination of all that stuff that I just mentioned.
Definitely. I love going outside as well. That's when I feel my best. When I'm outside and when I'm able to work on art, like paint, whatever, that's the best for me. I like working out. I like doing yoga.
Oh yes,
And
working out. Listen, I don't like the gym. I'm
no.
done with gym. It's like, now let me not say that. I'm a person. I really believe
Mhm.
in like, even though I do want to go to the gym, like that's a goal, obviously, but I do believe in like everybody's body is different, so you got to figure out what
Mhm.
works for you. Going to
Yeah.
the lifting weights might not work for you. Like maybe,
Yeah.
and I forgot to say, I like to dance. Like,
Oh yeah.
I forgot to put that out there. Know me, you know. But yeah, I love to dance. So I went like, I even remember at one point when I was like at a really low point in my life, like I
Mhm.
was not dancing. I like, even when I went through postpartum, after like
Mhm.
that point, I had to really get comfortable with my body and,
Yeah.
like move it and all that. And it was like, it really was like, I think that even now, like my love for like music and dance is like up there now. Like the most because of like just what I'm becoming, So
Mhm.
for sure, I think movement is really good for just, keeping the endorphins kicked up.
Definitely, for sure.
Mhm.
Have you ever seen that meme that's like, um, yeah, all the happy bitches was right. Like, I'm actually working out and I'm moving and now I'm happy. Fuck them. But
It's
it's
true
true.
though. It's literally true. And I didn't like, when people was like, oh yeah, when you work out, you feel good. I was like, what? How? It hurts. I don't want to do this. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Really, I started running last year and I would like set goals for myself. And like
Yeah.
people always gonna tell you what they think you should do and stuff like that. Do what you want to do for
Mm-hmm.
yourself. Okay. Whether it's like,
Right.
anything, it doesn't matter. Don't believe what other people say. And I
Yeah.
started running and I set these goals and child, I was running better than I was running in high school. How?
Really.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
it don't make no sense. High school, you cannot pay me to run a mile. So yeah, I think that like just kind of trying new things too, like really helps.
Mm-hmm.
And like just kind of like challenging yourself. I think that's also important. Like people should do that because it's good to like it brings out your inner spirit as a kid. Like that's
Yeah.
ultimately that young spirit and trying new things and the innocence of experiences is something that like really can help get that happiness back with your mental health.
Yeah. Definitely. I agree. So I got two more questions for you. I'm gonna let you name my piece. We're gonna name each other's pieces and we'll head out. So, is there anyone in your family on this plane or the next who you would want to talk to at this time, and what would you ask them? What are any questions you would ask them? Nothing's off the table.
Crazy that you asked this because I literally was just thinking of this person and I just told my mom I want to go to his grave. But definitely my grandfather, my mom's dad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my mom is half Ethiopian, so that is the person that I get that side from. He's Oromo, which is southern Ethiopia. And
Mm-hmm.
Ethiopian people and Somali people are very like, I'm very proud of the lineage of my country, the people I come from. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Mm-hmm.
I literally, you can ask my cousins when we speak, we talk about it, how much of a blessing it is to be born a Somali woman.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely would ask him and talk to him about just like his overall, like, his experiences, like what was the most important thing he learned as like just as a young adult, as a person that had to bring his family here. um,
Mm-hmm.
my grandfather was both of them actually. It's crazy. They're both very noble men. They're known in their communities. They're very giving. Had high titles when they were back home, and their careers, as I believe both of them were in the military, I believe.
Okay.
My cousin's on here and they see me and I'm saying it wrong. Don't embarrass. But yeah, so he was just such a sweetheart. Like I just always hear such good stories about him. And we
Yeah.
had a relationship when I was younger that
Mm-hmm.
like I would love, oh my God, like it would be, I wish he was still here so he could be around Yazir. My grandma's
Yeah.
like, they in Somali they describe her as like an iron. She's very like steel, like very strong. Like that's how
Mm-hmm.
people described her back home. And he was soft and very loving and like not as serious. And like
Yeah.
my mom's like that, like she has a really big heart. And so like I already kind of see why my dad is the way he is through my grandfather and his characteristics now, especially with how well my family does with taking care of my grandfather and my grandmother. They like absolutely are taken care of in the best way possible, and it's beautiful for us to see our aunts and uncles and my dad coming together, you know, to be able to take care of their own, you know, parents after all these years, after creating their own families. So like
Right.
in that, I don't really get to see my grandmother. She lives on her own, and she does everything on her own. It's like it's a different that side of it. So, but we also
Mm-hmm.
are there for her, and we come together with her often. And my mom and her, like, you know, they are with each other every week. So I feel
That's
like
good.
the missing part that I wish I could, you know, talk to him a little bit more. And I would have had a really close relationship with him had he not passed away when he did, because I ended up moving in with my grandmother after he passed. So
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting because like feel like my son is like kind of like a really big like reincarnation of him in a way, because he's so bubbly. And so my grandfather was like that, and like very like jokey, you know, and like they want like a stand-up guy. So and Yazir reminds me of that, and even how they look, it's crazy. Like
Yeah.
so I that's definitely somebody I would talk to. And I plan on, you know, when I get to paradise, we're gonna be reunited. So yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, man. But I definitely believe in that reincarnation as well. And just the conversations I've had with your son alone, like he knows some stuff. Like I'm telling you, like he definitely knows some stuff. He's an awesome kid. So yeah.
Thank you, Auntie.
You're welcome. So one more question. If someone would like to know more about their family history and they may not have, I guess, the um, people who are willing to talk to them about certain stuff, what do you suggest they would do to find out more? That's a hard one for me too. I don't know.
It's like I feel like as a person of color, family is such a big thing in like
Mm-hmm.
American culture, African culture, like Caribbean culture, Asian culture, every culture. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like where do you begin? I would definitely say like if you are not close with your family, and especially if you're somewhere completely like, you know, the internet is there for a reason now. It's like use that to your advantage. You can connect with
Yeah.
people online, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
ask questions because some people do want to answer them. And the beautiful thing is that like some places, you know, like I was actually talking to B about this the other day. Like you can't, not all of us could just, hey, I'm in Somalia, what's up? Tell me, like
Right.
you can't do that. Like, you know, she was telling me back home where she's from, you can't just, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
are literally just because I'm Somali doesn't mean that like I can just walk up in the village or walk up in my mom's old neighborhood and expect things to like, you know, people to teach me things and stuff like that. Like, no. So it's like it's very important to be respectful when it comes to finding out information and trying to learn. But I would definitely say internet. I would definitely say connecting with different people on the internet, or learning and doing your research and traveling
Mm-hmm.
as well. If you have the opportunity to travel to places where you can learn about yourself, take the
Yeah.
opportunity and be respectful as well, because that is not your, you know, where you're from, and that's not your grounds. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
you need to make sure that like you're respectful when you're trying to learn, and especially if you're entering certain people's communities and stuff. But I would say like also like ask, like if you do have a family member too that you can talk to and you want to know, if they ask them, like people like they want to tell you what happened.
Yeah. They
Especially
do.
older people, if you start asking them what they're like why, you know, why you care all the time?
Mm-hmm.
But it's because like we're getting older, like we want to know more about,
Yeah.
you know, ourselves and stuff. But I definitely say for the people who don't have that resource, like don't have close family and stuff, make your own experience and do your own research. And if you believe in what is it, ancestry, DNA, and all that, do, you
Yeah.
know, pay them
Right.
if you want to do it. If it
Yeah.
works for you. You know,
Right.
like
Yeah.
so. And reading does a lot. Like I
Yeah.
think that's one big thing. I went to an
Yeah.
HBCU and I read some of the greatest literature from Black authors and scholars. Read. I promise you, even if you can't even identify with who you might be in this generation right now with all the fucked up shit going on, you start to read those texts and stuff and you realize, damn, I can relate. Or these people were speaking about themes that occur in my life in 2022, you know, I can relate to, even though they were living in a different time during that time. And it expands your mind and it grounds you too. So yeah, definitely reading is essential for sure.
Yeah, man.
This
Yeah,
guy.
we're gonna get some more content. That's Dante. Hey, Dante. Yeah, we got some more stuff in the
I'll be on
works.
here.
Yeah, we got some more stuff in the works. You come be my guest,
Oh no,
Dante.
you need to interview him.
Yeah.
That's a good person. So
I said he just congratulations again. He's got a baby on the way. So congratulations to you.
diapers.
Yes.
Congratulations. I did not know
Yes.
that. Yeah, you definitely got to interview him.
Yes, for real. Come talk to me
We
for
want
Father's
to get
Day. We're gonna talk. Yes.
him.
Okay, but this was great, Rhoda. For real,
Okay.
we got more stuff to do. But let me see your piece. I'll name yours. You name mine.
I did a sketch of how I'm feeling at the moment.
Okay, let me see. Oh,
So I said bubbly,
I like that.
loved. That's the hearts. And then I did a flower, like to go, if you can see it.
Yeah. I thought it was a garden. That's
Growing.
pretty cool.
Growing.
That's cool.
DJ Black. Congratulations, Dante. Oh my God. All parents. That's crazy.
Yes, I'm gonna call that a garden. Garden. That's what I'm gonna call yours. And
Yeah.
then
I want to see you.
name mine. I don't know if you can really see.
I see the
You
colors.
see that?
Ooh, I'm gonna call that. I like that.
What'd you say?
Evolution.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's this. I always got the steps. That's always how I'm
Girl, the
feeling.
colors is given. I was gonna say sunset at first, but it's too basic. I like evolution. That's like very like, and I think the conversation was like,
Yeah.
like relates to that. So.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for this, Rona. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we jump off?
Um. mm, I. mm, I would say that like just the overall like conversation, I think like for everybody that's watching this, like find out where you come from, who you
Yeah.
come from, who your ancestors are. Find the information for yourself. Don't let people tell you who you are. You find out and you make the decisions for yourself and you can create what household and how you want to raise whoever, your cats, your dogs, your fish, your kids, like you can create that world like not and not allow the outer world affect that what you're trying to create and the vision that you see for yourself. So I definitely say definitely like look within. I think one thing that like a reoccurring theme that I keep seeing is people telling especially Black women who they are. No, you figure it out and you you create it for yourself and your household and that's it.
That's right. It's your vision. God gave it to you. Sharpen it up.
Mhm.
What you gotta do is people out here around you to help, but definitely it's from within. And it's really important to figure out who you are and whose you are. So
Yeah,
with that being said, thank you again, Rhoda. I appreciate you.
no
Love
problem.
you.
Love
Yeah.
you. I'm
All
definitely gonna.
right.
We'll do the aftermath tomorrow, but I love you. Thank you
All
guys.
right.
I
Have a
appreciate
good
it.
evening, everybody. Peace.
Bye.
Love. Bye bye.